Hello, and welcome to Greater Montclair, the show where we shine a light on the individuals and organizations in our community that make a difference for our neighbors in need. I'd like to thank those who are joining us today and welcome you all to this first edition of Greater Montclair. I'm delighted to welcome our first guest on Greater Montclair. She is Tia Airy, and she is the Executive Director of the Interfaith Hospitality Network of Essex County Incorporated. Is that correct?
That's right.
And I'm really delighted to welcome Tia today. She is both an expert in our area on the issue of homeless families and also an incredible provider of services to the families in our neighborhood. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sarah. It's a delight to be here.
Well, we're really happy to be able to speak with you about the wonderful work of the Interfaith Hospitality Network, IHN.
Yes.
And I'd love to just start out and hear a little bit about IHN and the work you all do.
IHN has been serving homeless families in Essex County for almost 25 years now. We provide emergency shelter and meals and compassionate support for homeless families while they stay in our network of congregations throughout Essex County. We are incredibly fortunate to have a wonderful volunteer group that just welcomes our families with hospitality and compassionate support.
Well, I know from my own experience, our community has participated, and it's been an amazing experience. For those who don't understand this system of hosting homeless families, would you explain a little bit how this works? In other words, where are the families staying, and how does the system set up?
Interfaith Hospitality Network has a network of about 60 congregations in Essex County, and 25 or so of those congregations are actually host sites, meaning they provide a place for our families to sleep, and they have volunteers that come and prepare meals and donate food. There are also people from the congregation who will come and maybe do activities with the children at night or spend the night, because there's always a couple of people that need to spend the night in the congregation. And we serve 3 or 4 families at a time, and they stay in each of these host sites for a week at a time, and then we'll move on Sunday to the next host congregation.
Well, I want to urge those who are watching to find out whether your community participates in the Interfaith Hospitality Network. I believe we have the contact number on the screen, and I want to urge folks to reach out to your clergy member, find out whether you participate, and if not, see if you can find out about how to get involved. It sounds like an easy way to make a really important difference in families' lives. Tia, if you don't mind, I'd love to step back a little bit and talk a little bit about how families become homeless. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about how individuals and families become homeless, and I'd love to hear from your, very direct experience. How are a lot of families finding themselves in that situation, and are they finding ways to get out of it?
Yes, well, many American families live paycheck to paycheck. There was a study that the United Way did recently that determined that 27% of all households in North Essex are earning an annual income of between $20,000 and $60,000, which is not enough to be considered self-sufficient financially. So a lot of these families are just barely making ends meet, and so anything can cause them, any disruption in their life can cause them to go into homelessness, whether it's a loss of job or an illness or divorce. Any one of these life crises can cause them to have a serious problem, and they have to make difficult choices between paying the rent or putting food on the table.
What do you do when you get a call from a family that is, on the brink of homelessness?
Well, certainly we try to prevent homelessness as much as we can, and on the other end we try to get people out of the shelter and into housing as rapidly as we can as well. And we have developed the capacity of the organization to serve these families in better ways over the last several years. we provide both rental and food assistance through a federal program to families that are in danger of becoming homeless. We've also been able to expand in the last 5 years or so into some affordable housing solutions for families.
Great.
When we first started this program in the late 1980s, there were more government programs that supported affordable housing. Section 8 was more readily available to our clients as they were exiting shelter. But over the years, those federal programs have dwindled. And so we are always looking for affordable housing options for our clients. And we've been able to forge some really great partnerships with other organizations that help us to do this.
And I know you've been partnering with a few organizations right here in Montclair to do that.
Yes.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about who you were working with locally?
Well, Home Corps has certainly been a great partner, and some of our families have gone into Home Corps housing.
Great.
And we really appreciate that partnership. New Bridge is another organization that has helped us with affordable housing. Our strength is really in the social service support that we provide for our families. We have a very strong social service staff, and they will work with each family that comes into the program to help them find ways to make positive change.
A lot of you viewing are probably wondering how you can get involved and help. There are many ways that each of us can step up, and we're going to hear now about what we can do to help the Interfaith Hospitality Network. And Tia, if you could just tell us, what can people who are watching do? How can we get involved and make a difference?
Well, one of the things that's coming up pretty soon in Montclair, we have some students from Montclair High who for the 3rd year in a row are organizing a 5K run walk for homeless families in the IHN network.
Great.
And that's going to take place on May 12th at Brookdale Park. So you can join the IHN Run Against Homelessness.
Fantastic. And people who are interested in participating in the run or making a contribution to IHN can find out how to do that on your website?
Yes.
Great,
certainly.
Which is, I think, at the bottom of our screen. And I encourage everybody watching to reach out to IHN and see how you can be helpful. Well, we want to say a special thank you to those who do volunteer. And I know IHN really depends very heavily on its network of volunteer congregations and individuals. And Tia and I would like to take this opportunity to thank a very special volunteer at IHN. Tia, would you tell us a little bit about who that is?
Well, I'm so excited to be able to tell Dale Rusikoff at Congregation Shamarei Amuna that she's our choice as a very special volunteer in the Interfaith Hospitality Network. She is one of those volunteers who just goes out of her way to make our families feel welcome and to help them when they move into housing. She's done wonderful things.
Fantastic.
So I know she'll be thrilled.
Well,
thank you.
Oh, well, we're delighted, and I'm so happy that the individuals in our area are really able to step up in this way and encourage others to do it. To recognize this special volunteer's work, we're delighted to be able to present Tia with a special gift. The Residence Inn in West Orange has provided Dale with a weekend stay at the Residence Inn in West Orange, and one of our local favorites here in Montclair, Nana's Bella Casa, has donated 2 generous gift certificates for her to enjoy with her own family. So, Tia, we thank you so much. We thank Dale so much, and we're really delighted to have you here today and learn more about the issue of homelessness.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming, and thank you so much for joining us. We are really thrilled to be able to shine a light on the individuals and organizations in the Montclair area who make a difference on behalf of our neighbors in need. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on Greater Montclair, the show where we shine a light on the individuals and organizations who make a difference in our area. I want to give a very special thanks to our guests here today, and I want to give you an opportunity at home to find ways that you can step up and volunteer to make a difference in the face of homelessness in our area. On the screen, you'll see ways to contact the organizations who were featured here today, and I urge you to take some action to support your neighbors in need. I'd like to take this opportunity also to thank our sponsors of today's show. We are thrilled to have the support of the Residence Inn in West Orange. Residence Inn donated $250 to the Montclair Emergency Services for the Homeless organization, and also a weekend stay for a special volunteer to the Interfaith Hospitality Network. I'd like to thank Nanas Bellicasa for their generous donation to that volunteer as well, and Aesthetica, who donated the hair and makeup for today's show. So thank you again so much for joining us. I hope you'll take an opportunity to help us all make Montclair greater.